Hey everyone, Mitch coming in from the Commander Score Studio. Welcome to the show. So, Wilds of Eldraine spoiler season is officially over. And you know what that means? The time that you've been waiting for, the entire spoiler season, the most fantastical award ceremony of all time, the Golden Pig Awards. So on this episode, I'm going to be taking you through my top 10 favorite commanders from Wilds of Eldraine. Might be for one reason or another. I'll try to explain it as best as I can, but again, these picks are going to be based off of my own personal preferences on cards and commanders, so they might differ from what your favorite ones, are, and that's okay. And also, I do need to reiterate, because sometimes there's some confusion on this, that this does not mean that these are the most powerful commanders in the set. That's actually a separate episode where I go through the tiers, so make sure on the lookout for that episode as well. Regardless, with all that said, let's jump into it. And now let's start things off at number 10 with Baluna Grand Squall, a 4/4 Giant Noble in Teamer for green, blue, red. Seek Thrills is the adventure for 2 and then Teamer. Instant adventure, mill 7 cards, then put all cards that have an adventure from among the milled cards in your hand. Trample, permanent spells you cast that have an adventure cost 1 less cast. So finally, we have it, an adventure-specific commander. One that's like, hey, you know what? Let's get all your adventures. I'm going to give you benefits when I'm in play. Again, reducing the cost of those adventure spells. Again, the permanent spells, essentially once you're done casting adventure, then you can cast those adventures permanent side for free. Not free. Sorry, for reduced cost, essentially. Could be free in some scenarios, I guess. Regardless, though, a flexible commander that also has, again, that Seek Thrills side to it. Again, the ability to say, you know what? Let's cast this first. Let's get some adventures in my hand. Again, mill 7, all those that have an adventure go into your hands. So the more and more adventures you have in your deck, the more and more likely you are to hit those cards, get them in your hand. I mean, this can get you, well, technically 7 cards, but even if this get you like 3 or 4 cards essentially in your hand, that is huge. Again, instant speed, card advantage right there out of the command zone, then be able to cast this from exile for just 3 mana, essentially saying, you know what? Yeah, let's reduce the cost of our other spells too. So a really cool commander. Again, I'm excited to see adventures finally getting more of a solidified commander to lead them. So again, Baluna, congratulations on your 10th place finish. But let's move on to number 9 with Kellen the Fey-Blooded. Yet another adventure commander. 2/2 human fairy for 2 and a red. Birthright boon for 1 and a white sorcerer adventure. Search life for an aura or an equipment card. Reveal, put in your hand, then shuffle. Double strike other creatures you control. Get +1/+0 for each aura and equipment attached to Kellen the Fey-Blooded. So again, yet another way to say, out of the command zone, I can just utilize this as a sorcery and say, let's go tutor for any equipment or aura. This basically open the armory out of your command zone, so you always have access to it. So basically saying, you know what, I'm going to make a Skull Clamp deck around this, where I just, go get Skull Clamp and get an absurd amount of value. You can go get, obviously Voltron stuff as well, Blackblade Reforged, those kinds of cards to make Kellen into an absolute beast. Obviously, also the more and more things that you have attached to Kellen, the more and more value you're going to get out of it, and the more creatures you're going to get pumped. So you could just do like searching for things like Shuko that, don't cost basically anything to come out or to attach, and just saying, you know what, let's just go with, getting every single piece of equipment we have or every single aura that we have onto this commander, going wide and smacking our opponents for a ton. So this is a commander, again, that you can take in a lot of different directions. I like being able to just tutor out for auras or tutor out for equipment and just building decks around those specific ones. Again, you could do the Cauldron cards, essentially, and just build around that if you want to. You can do a lot of powerful things with this one and a lot of cool directions that you can take it. So again, Kellen the Fey-Blooded, I like the design. Again, I like this adventure from the command zone concept. Congratulations on your 9th place finish. But now we're going to be moving on to 8th place with Ariat, whatever it is, of the Charmed Apple. A 2/4 human warlock for 1 white Blackstone Orzhov. Each creature that's enchanted by an aura you control can attack your planeswalkers you control. Beginning of your end step, each opponent loses X life and you gain X life for X number of auras you control. This can be absurd. I like the power concept of this, where you can just take your opponents out just by throwing a ton of auras in play. That's just kind of cool. But also, it just takes in a bit of a different direction. It's kind of like Goad in a way, a little bit, where it's kind of like, I guess more like Ghostly Prison in a way too, but hey, I'm going to essentially pacifism every single one of your creatures, and they can still attack though. they can still block though, I guess, too. But they can still attack, but they can only attack my opponents. So essentially, you all just attack each other. I'm going to sit back here, and while I'm doing that, I'm going to gain a ton of life, drain you for a ton as well. And of course, there's plenty of other ways to take advantage of draining your opponents, plenty of other ways to take advantage of you gaining life too. Lots of value can be had from there. But yeah, like an aura, life gain, life drain kind of a deck that has like a pacifism, you know, ghostly prison twist. Absolutely love that. So yeah, Ariat, however you say your name, congratulations on your 8th place finish. But now let's move on to 7th place with Will, Scion of Peace. That's right, Will is back, gaining a new color, being an Orzhov, being an Azorius now. There we go. A 2/4 human wizard with vigilance that costs 1 white and a blue. Tap spells you cast this turn that are white and or blue. Cost X less to cast for X the amount of life you gain this turn. Activate as a sorcery. This commander has so much absurd potential. It's a very cool concept, one that says, you know what? Let's just cast the biggest X spell ever, essentially, for basically nothing. I mean, 1 mana probably, but there are plenty of ways to gain life throughout the game very easily. There's a lot of ways to just gain an absurd amount of life for very cheap. And when you have those effects in play, you can gain a lot of life throughout the game, or just a giant life gain spell can essentially double up the amount that you're going to be gaining in that turn and double up the potential for this commander. Because, again, you cast like an X life gain spell, you gain, say, 8 life. All right, cool. All right, yeah, tap this commander to help with that. And sure, you've got plenty of ways to then untap this commander, like dramatic reversal type effects, a lot of ones in these colors. Untap the commander, do it again, and again, and again, and again. And all of a sudden, your spells cost like 40 less to cast. And then you can cast like a Blue Sun Zenith for just 3 mana, draw 40 cards, or force someone to draw 40 cards. I mean, the potential for this commander to say, like, yeah, let's just draw our entire deck is very, 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 very easily done. And again, as you are casting those spells, you're drawing into more untap effects to do this again and again and again. If you get the dramatic reversal, then you get more mana back too. So yeah, this commander can go pretty crazy. It's a really cool concept, and yeah, a very, very, very interesting design as well. Congratulations again, Will, Scion of Peace. I think you're a very cool commander and well deserving of the 7th place finish. But now we're going to be moving on to 6th place, and I'm very sorry, Will, but you got beat out by your sister Rowan. Sign of War is crazy cool and crazy good. Can't believe they made this. A 4/2 human wizard with menace that costs 1 black and a red. Tap spells you cast this turn that are black and or red, cost X less to cast for X the amount of life you lost this turn, activate as a sorcery. Okay, so again, whereas Will's like, yeah, let's gain life and then get benefits from that, this is the exact opposite. This is like, hey, let's lose life and then get benefits from that. And it's so much easier to lose an absurd amount of life. Now, gaining a ton of life is also easy, but with this can work with cards that I absolutely love. Those life choosing cards. Those choosing cards that are saying like, hey, like you want to pay life and get this effect like a Wall of Blood. Okay, pay 1 life ++1. There's no restriction on how many times you can activate that except for your life total. You can, you know, obviously take yourself out with that. So this one essentially is like, hey, get that out, okay, and then just decide how much do I want my spells to cost less? Oh, 20? Cool. All right, I'll pay 20 life. Wall of Blood +21 or +20. Cool. Good for you. More importantly, though, tap all my red and black spells cost 20 less to cast now. Again, any of those X mana spells like a Fireball or like an Exsanguinate especially, cool. Just drain your opponents for a ton, also gain a ton of life to get that life back up, and then say, oh, okay, well, you know what? Will's got access to a lot of untap effects, right, Azorius, but also you've got some sneaky untap effects in this color as well, these colors as well, because you've got red. You got access to red, which has threaten effects, and there's a lot of threaten effects out there, like the original threat, and they're just like, hey, untap, target creature, gain control of it. It can be your own creature. So essentially, you just threaten your own commander, untap, do it again. Now all your spells cost another 20 less. Again, cast your giant, Giant's Limit, Immolating Inferno, or Fireball spell, or whatever it is. Take out your opponents. A crazy good commander that has so much potential and so many crazy things you can do with that. Those life-setting cards work great with it, and I absolutely love that. So again, congratulations, Rowan. You're a really cool commander on your 6th place finish. But now it's time for us to move on to 5th place, and we've got a very interesting and unique one with Talion, the Kindly Lord, a 3/4 Fairy Noble with flying that costs 2 blue, black. As it enters the battlefield, which is a number between 1 and 10, whenever an opponent casts a spell with mana value, power, or toughness equal to the chosen number, that player loses 2 life and you draw a card. This commander is crazy. This kind of a concept is just like, hey, you know what? Let's just see what happens. All right, I pick a number. Now, technically, if you're going to go about it mathematically, which is a way that you can do it, most of the time you're probably going to pick either 2 or 3 because you're probably going to get the most value out of that typically in a typical commander game. That being said, there are of course ways to we'll kind of know how things are going to go with this one, because again, when you do get a benefit out of that, again, whether it's, you know, the mana value, power, or toughness, you are draining someone, or sorry, yeah, you're draining someone for a 2, and you're also drawing a card. And of course, there's ways taking more advantage of each of those things. So that's a lot of value for you. And yeah, again, there's ways to kind of know what's going to happen a little bit, like a telepathy. Telepathy is a great card saying basically, hey, let's look at all of our opponent's hands. Everyone else, play with your hand revealed. And all of a sudden, you've got all the information that you need to make the best decision that you can. Essentially, like, okay, there's mana value. All right, there's power, there's toughness. All right, cool. All right, I'm going to pick 2. Or pick 3, or whatever the number is, and determine that, hey, either my opponents are going to avoid casting those spells, which again is hampering them and slowing them down, or also, yeah, I'll drain them and also draw a lot of cards throughout the game with something like this. Again, there is no like limiting factor to this. There is no, you know, this ability triggers only once you turn. That isn't there. And of course, it's something that you can reset. This is something that you can very easily reset, again, like any kind of a blink effect, which affects to a lot of those in blue, or a feign death type effect. You can reset that when this commander comes back into play. A really cool concept, one that, again, you can take advantage of in many ways with the draw especially, and the life loss as well. Be a really cool card, one that, yeah, bounce effects can work as well too. Bouncing something back to opponent's hand. Hey, okay, that was a power, you know, 2 or whatever. That was a mana value 2. If you're going to recast that, you're going to have to pay for it, and I will draw an extra card. So a really cool concept. Tallying the Kindly Lord, congratulations on your 5th place finish. But now let's move on to number 4 with Agatha the Vile Cauldron, a very cool commander. 1/1 human warlock for red-green. Activated abilities of creatures you control cost X less to activate, where X is Agatha the Vile Cauldron's power. The effect can't reduce the mana of that cost to less than 1 mana. 4 red and a green. Other creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain triple and haste till have turn. So essentially, there's a ton of ways that you can pump this commander, and getting its power up to just anywhere north of probably 4 or more. That's going to reduce the cost of all of your generic mana for your creature's active abilities to basically 0. I mean, 1 at the most, again, is what you have to pay essentially for those. But yeah, being able to reduce even this, you know, activability cost just to 2 mana, red and green, all of a sudden you can pump your army very easily, very efficiently, very effectively, and hit your opponents for a ton. So essentially, it's a really cool commander that's like activated ability tribal, just essentially using, you know, Black Blade or Forge or any kind of, you know, counter strategy essentially can make this commander have enough power that it's going to incredibly impact all your creatures, have some really cool activated abilities. I mean, even something as simple as just getting, you know, 1 reduction for like Ant Queen. That is huge. Again, just paying a single green mana to make a creature token. Right, do that again and again and again. This is a really cool effect. This is a different kind of a commander with a really cool concept. Again, activated ability tribal in Gruul. Absolutely love it. Congratulations on your 4th place finish, Agatha. Definitely well deserved. But now let's move on to the top 3. Starting off with number 3, we've got Hilda of the Icy Crown, a 3/4 human warlock for 2 white-blue. Whenever you tap an untapped creature opponent controls, you may pay 1. When you do, choose 1. Create a 4/4 white and blue elemental creature token. Put a counter on each creature you control, or scry 2 and draw a card. So a lot of value to be had here, and some pretty absurd things that you can do with this one. The first thing that came to my mind when I saw this is, hey, doesn't this work really well with opposition? A great enchantment that basically says, hey, tap an untapped creature you control. You can tap, I believe it's an artifact or a creature, or I think a land too, actually. But in this case, you'd be like, okay, like, yeah, let's tap one of my creatures to tap down one of your creatures. Because I did that now, I can pay 1. When I do, I can make a 4/4 creature, which I can tap right away with opposition to do that again and again and again. Just basically a token producing, or just army producing, just source right here, just 1 mana per a 4/4 every single time. Of course, you can switch that up to get counters on creatures. You can switch that up to draw cards and scry. A really cool effect. And again, that's just one angle to this. Again, opposition, there's ways to tutor for it. It's an enchantment. A great way, you know, just to have a crazy amount of value for this kind of a deck. On top of that, though, hey, yeah, you can take advantage of counter strategies. You can take advantage of scrying, you know, something like Elegith. You can take advantage of drawing as well. Some really cool things you can do this one. And there's plenty of spells out there. There's plenty of effects out there that can just tap down so many creatures at once. You get an absurd amount of value out of something like this. I love the design of this one. Utilizing like a Verity Circle type commander that just loves when your opponent's creatures are tapped down. So yeah, there you go. Congratulations, Hilda. Absolutely love the design on your 3rd place finish. But now let's move on to number 2 with Imodane the Pyro Hammer. What a cool name. Imodane is a 4/4 human knight for 2 red. Whenever an instant or sorcery spell you control that targets only a single creature deals damage to that creature, Imodane deals that much damage to each opponent. This is the burn commander that players have been waiting for such a long time. Yes, we've gotten Fire Song and Sunspeaker and those kinds of commanders that are kind of like burn and life gain and that kind of stuff as well. But this one is just like, no, we are burninating everything down to the ground. All of a sudden, my lightning bolt, which I'm not going to say is useless in Commander, but it's nowhere near as good as it is in other formats, because 3 damage in Commander is kind of nothing sometimes, essentially when everyone starts off at 40 life versus one player starting off at 20. On top of that, this is like, yeah, you know what? Okay, the lightning bolt, instead of it being 3 damages on a singular creature, which could take out, you know, a medium-sized to small creature, cool. Now all of a sudden, it's basically 12 damage, right? You are getting 3 damage to that creature and 3 damage to your opponent's faces for just a single mana. And again, that's just kind of the lowest kind of bar of potential for this commander. There's some crazy things that you can do with this one. Again, it is Imodane dealing that damage. So if you give Imodane lifelink, well, yeah, through like a Lux and Warhammer or anything like that, cool. All of a sudden, you're gaining now. Again, that same lightning bolt, 3 damage to a creature, 9 damage to your opponent's faces, 1 mana for all that damage, and now gain an extra 9 life as well. Have fun with that. So yeah, there's a lot of crazy things that you can do this one. This one just, again, is just burn, burn, burn. It is saying, you know what? You know that burn deck that you've been waiting for in Commander? This is the burn deck that you've been waiting for. Everything is burn things down the ground, take your opponents out, use damage doublers, damage triplers, whatever you're going to use, take your opponents out in absolutely no time with this Commander that says, hey, shock is great, lightning bolt's better. All these burn spells are fantastic. Fireball everything. And of course, you can take advantage of indestructible creatures, ones that might want to get hit too, like Brash Taunter, etc., etc., etc. So yeah, take out your opponent's creatures, ping your own, whatever you need to do, burn and nape things to the ground. So again, congratulations, Imodane the Pyro Hammer. Fantastic name, fantastic card. Congratulations on your 2nd place finish. But now the moment that you've all been waiting for, the golden pig of Wilds of Eldraine, is Bernard Ginger Sculptor, a 3/3 human artificer for 1 green, white, blue, so Bant. Each creature you control that's a food or a golem gets +2/+2 and has trample. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, you may exile it. If you do, create tokens copy that creature, except it's a 1/1 food golem artifact in addition to other types, and it has pay 2 tap, sacrifice artifact, gain 3 life. Basically, turn all your creatures into gingerbread men, kind of, essentially, when they're taken out. So this is a really cool concept. Absolutely love the flavor, love the design of this one, and love the potential for it as well. This is a commander that says, you can take it in a couple different directions. You can take it in a direction that really takes advantage of creatures that have ETBs or death triggers, or yes, even take advantage of populate, because all of a sudden you're going to make creature token copies of your creatures. Now they're tiny, right? They're just 1/1s, but actually they're kind of like 3/3s with trample as well. And of course you can take advantage of that as well with like changelings if you really want to, like Maskwood Nexus, sure. But most importantly, again, just hey, you know what? Let's utilize sacrifice effects. You do have a couple of, like, you know, Martyr's Bond and those kinds of cards that can help you sacrifice. I guess green has some too as well, like Greater Good. Use some sacrifice outlets, sacrifice creatures that might have some massive ETBs, get a copy of it. That's just a little gingerbread token. And all of a sudden, you know what? Get that giant ETB again. Populate that. Get another creature token of it. This one's got so much potential for so many cool and crazy and awesome plays. A lot of cool things to take advantage of. A really cool design for a Bant commander, one that I definitely did not expect to see. Gingerbread token tribal. I mean, you can have some really cool token creatures as well out of this. You know, some really cool designs for your tokens too. So I think it's a really cool concept. Absolutely love this. Congratulations on your 1st place finish, Bernard Ginger Sculptor. But now as this episode is coming to a close, it's time for me to hear from you. What do you think of my top 10? What do you think of my golden pig? What do you think about the order of these cards as well? What were your favorite ones from this set? Which ones did I miss out on, do you think? Which ones am I right on? So yeah, let me know in the comments below all of that. Make sure you're staying tuned to the channel for the tiers list as well that I'll be coming up with shortly too, to talk about the most powerful commanders from this set, me ranking them from the S tier all the way down to the D tier. So there you go. Let me know in the comments below. And of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.